Okay, so with the new year, I want to talk about anti-aging, but more importantly about vitality and resilience. So anti-aging is not just about looking younger. There's lots of products out there for healthy skin. I'm not talking about preventing wrinkles and gray hair. That's an important thing. But I'm really talking more about vitality and resilience as we grow older. That means living a quality life, having less disease and less infection, being hardy, having zest and exuberance and passion and even sexual passion, and being able to do the things that matter to you. And doing what you enjoy. If it's playing with kids or great grandkids, or being out exercising and with your spouse and traveling. But it's also about independence, being able to drive when you're 80, dignity and quality of life, and not being alone in a nursing home. When I looked up in the definition of biology aging, it refers to a natural gradual process where organisms experience a decline. This is the key, a decline in physical function across all organ systems, and an accumulation of molecular and cellular junk, and leading to a decreased resilience and increased risk of disease as we get older. And aging doesn't start when you turn 50. It's not over the hill at 50. It actually starts younger than that. And so this is a guy learning to drive with his father. And yes, when I taught my kids to drive, I swear I aged. I got a lot of gray hairs. But the point of this picture is it actually starts when you're a kid or a teenager. That's when aging starts. So in your 30s and 40s and 50s is a time to be thinking about aging because it occurs on a cellular level when we first start to grow. And I put a picture of the leaves because we see that every year. That's an aging process. The leaves don't have the chlorophyll to keep them green, so they start to age. So we can see that visibly. We have some of the same processes in us as humans. So aging, it's we are every cell as it reproduces and makes another cell, it's a copy. It's a copy of the DNA. And so think about if we make a copy of a blueprint and we keep doing that every day for 50, 60 years, the copy is not going to be as good as the original was. So that's part of aging, that we just get the transfer of message of information is not the same. Processes just start to slow down. Things are not as efficient as they used to be as we age, and just trash, cellular trash, toxins start to accumulate, and then just wear and tear. I mean, we see it easily in our joints, and in our skin. Things just are not as flexible as they used to be. So what can we do to slow down this aging process? And we have to think about that root cause again: sleep and stress, toxins, hormones, gut indigestion, nutrition, and infection and inflammation. That's going to be a key. So let's think about the root, not just a magic supplement to keep us from aging or a magic cream to put on our skin. Let's start with inflammation and infection. In functional medicine, this is the new term called inflammaging. That the inflammation is what's causing us to age. So if we can resolve that inflammation, we don't age as fast. This is not my picture, but I thought it really represented over on the left that we have acute inflammation. We have an allergic reaction or an injury or an infection, whether it's a gut infection or a tooth infection. And that inflammation, if not taken care of, can become chronic. We see that with like Lyme's disease. And those chronic infections has been what is shown to lead to heart disease, arthritis, autoimmune disorders. But I circled neurological disease because dementia is a Parkinson's disease, ALS. Those are huge concerns as we get older. And then, of course, cancer, because cancer is a challenge to the immune system. Cancer cells grow, and if our immune system does not see that cancer, it can continue to grow. Our hope is our immune system is healthy and says, hey, there's a cancer growing. Let's go take care of that and get rid of it. So immune system is really important. Chronic infections, teeth, oh my goodness, dental infections. For a long time, we've known that those can lead to heart disease. The bottom picture might be a little hard to see. It's also chronic bladder infections, chronic intestinal infections, and even fungal infections like in toenails and candida can become chronic. And we want to address those so that we don't have aging. Sleep and stress. I know we talk about that one all the time, and that could be a whole discussion on its own. Stress in your 20s and 30s, increased cortisol, and can lead to aging. Sleep. As adults, we aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and of course, we want to make sure we get some quality sleep. Toxins, another big one here. Our body makes toxic byproducts with everything that it does, such as breathing and digesting and moving and inflammation. And our body has a way to get rid of those, but over time, we just aren't as efficient and it starts to add up. But it's not only what our body makes, but also things in our environment. And these are things we can, to some extent, control. Toxins from smoking and gasoline and plastic water bottles and heavy metals such as lead. Now, we can't control everything every time. We can at least be aware and change the things we can. Toxins are everywhere. How do we get rid of them? Reduce our exposure. Make sure we poop, pee, and perspire. Perspire can even be sauna, being outside. And then, of course, supporting your liver and the detox pathway. Sometimes we add some detox supplements like N-acetylcysteine and glutathione as well. Hormones. And I'm not just talking about menopause, because by the time we get to menopause symptoms like hot flashes, hormones have already started changing, probably in your 40s and for some people even in your late 30s, because there's a orderly progression. Testosterone is the first hormone to decrease in women, and then comes progesterone and estrogen. Men don't have progesterone and estrogen, but they certainly have testosterone that starts to decline. And all of these hormones are so very important for maintaining all the functions in the body. It's not just about hot flashes. It's about keeping your bones strong. It's about keeping skin healthy and your brain and your heart, and even your bladder. So for some people, assessing hormones and maybe replacing some hormones is going to be important. Nutrition. I know that's something Mary and I both talk a lot about. We frequently talk about how sugar causes insulin to go up, and insulin is very inflammatory. I know we just got through the holidays where there were a lot of these, so hopefully we're encouraging you to finish your sugar, put it aside, start cleaning up your diet, because it is contributing to your aging. As a treat occasionally, that's fine. Enjoy the holidays. But now that we're into January, let's clean it up. We encourage people to have foods that are high in antioxidants. Those are things like dark chocolate and blueberry and tomato. Antioxidants go in and grab the trash, kind of put the fire out. A lot of these foods are also really high in other nutrients. We aim for low processed or refined foods. But there's another thing we need to talk about, and that's how trash accumulates. One way to help decrease the trash that accumulates in our body through our daily process, but also from foods that we eat, is intermittent fasting. And as we get older, we don't really need to eat 3 times a day. Now, kids, teenagers, that's another story. Adults can usually postpone their first meal until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, even later, have lunch, dinner, and then be finished eating after dinner. That's a good way to clean out the trash, something we call autophagy, which is where your body shuts down the factory and goes in and cleans up old used cells, gets rid of them. Gut and digestion. As we age, we produce less digestive enzymes. Over the age of 50, about 60% of Americans don't have enough digestive enzymes to take the very healthy foods that you eat, break it down, and then be able to absorb it. So often over the age of 50, we start adding digestive enzymes. And that's, again, another discussion that we have a video on that one if you're interested in digestive enzymes. If you have gut infections, that also needs to be addressed because you can't absorb nutrients if your gut's inflamed. So aging, how do we assess and how do we test for it? Remember, the copy is not as good as the original. Processes slow down, trash accumulates, and we have wear and tear. So there are some functional medicine tests. That means they're not through LabCorp, they're through specialty companies that can measure oxidative stress, which is trash. Mitochondrial dysfunction. Mitochondria are those little energy factories. Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? Omega imbalance is the omega-3 anti-inflammatories versus the omega-6s, which we get too many of those, they can be more inflammatory. This test can also check for toxic exposures such as plastics and even heavy metals. And then methylation is one of the processes that we get rid of trash. So this is a test that tests for quite a few things. This is what it looks like, and it gives you a score with a circle around it at the top. So something that's in red, you'd say, okay, this is where I need to focus. It is a urine test, so there's no blood, which is kind of nice. And it's not cheap. It's $3.29. But sometimes people do it, maybe just once, see where their areas of challenge are, and then address that. We can also add on heavy metal urine test to this for another $35, which is a really good price, because by itself it's like $200. We can also add a fatty acid omega-3 test on that one as well for $35, because it can be kind of expensive by itself as well. But we don't have to use the fancy functional medicine labs as much as nerdy me likes them. We get a lot of really good information from LabCorp with just your basic kidney, liver function, your hormones. We can get a pretty good omega index through them that tells us about your omega-3s and your omega-6s. And of course, keeping an eye on the thyroid through LabCorp. Through them, we can also do a deep dive looking at your lipids. And a newer test is something called ApoB as in boy, B as in bad. It tells us if the cholesterol that you do have is the bad kind, or if we can don't have to be quite so aggressive with it. And then CRP is our marker of inflammation that we can also check. But we don't always have to do tests. We can also go by how you feel. You know how you feel. You know if you have fatigue and headache, or if you have energy and you feel youthful. So as we start looking at our goals for the year, I encourage you to think about what some small changes that you could do to slow the aging process down, if it's infections or inflammation, or if it's improving your nutrition. We just remember it's progress, not perfection. Just little changes is what we're hoping for, because we also want you to focus on what's your why. Why do you want to think about aging gracefully? Do you want to be able to travel? Do you want to be able to spend time with grandkids? Whatever your why is and whatever your goals are, we want to be able to help you and support you in that.